So I'm coming to work for you, and what are your three non-negotiables that I need to that would really make me fit into your team?
Non-negotiable. Oh my
Ooh,
God.
there's a there's a
God, that's
question. He likes putting that question in its
non-negotiable.
various
Oh
forms.
my God.
So yeah,
It's a
this
good
is like,
question.
if you look at your own values, what would help if I was to match your values? What three particular
Oh,
things?
vision is one thing.
Mm,
I always have vision, and I love people to join me in that vision and have a vision of their own as well, and to be able to communicate that. And that again is massive communication, because we have to
yeah,
get that right, but also integrity. Integrity
yeah,
is massive, and I think that again, because how I see women in business and men in business, it
Mm.
sometimes it's not always on the same level of integrity, because of what I've just
yeah.
said
Hmm.
about undermining, and you can't do that. And I wouldn't want anybody to do that in my business. Um, Now I'm on my own in business, but yeah. If I had somebody, it would be, yeah, vision with communication, and definitely integrity. That was
Nice,
pulled out of the hat.
nice. If No, it was really really good because I sit and think about
Oh, I've
my
lost you
sort of
again.
own values, and it's just nice to have a perspective. I know it sort of puts you on the spot, but it's just
So
and
what are your
sometimes that
three?
it just comes
What's
naturally. Yeah,
what's your three? You must have prepared three, have you?
yeah, yeah. To be fair, they're pretty simple: kind, driven, and humor. So
Humour.
Yeah.
yeah, and
Humour's always good,
it's
yeah.
always going to be in there because uh, I think in business, as Anne's been at sort of top level of business, there needs to be some sort of humour in when the
Yeah.
stress comes.
But I put that
Pressure
in my
release, yeah.
communication, because there's different
Yeah,
types of communication, and one of them is humour. The only thing that you have to be and is careful is if the other person accepts that as humour. And I live
yeah,
with a man at the moment who
Hmm.
is so sarcastic. Sometimes he doesn't realise what, but I'm used to that, and it's acceptable for me, but it might not be acceptable for somebody else. So that's why communication as a whole, it has to
mm,
be a big part of a
Well,
company, because you know it,
if you
and this is, what I do with my profiling. I love profiling. I love to find out, the psychology and yeah, and that's what I do. That's what I
nope,
use it
you've
for,
lost it.
is the communication,
Oh, there we go.
because it's
You're back.
absolutely crucial to businesses, especially if they're growing. And obviously, this is my job now, is that we put strategies in place for growth. So I have to make sure that we have the right communication channels to enable that to happen. So yeah, really
Yet
important.
and yet, and me and Mark can attest to this in the different places that we've been. The one thing, if anything's going to be missing, is communication,
Totally.
or the thing that people are bad
Yes.
at is
And
communication. A million emails, but none of them
right.
really say anything. They're just clutter. Sitting in a meeting and not having someone who's good at reining the meeting in. Because Mark was always very right. Look, we're off topic. We'll have a bit of a laugh, but we need to leave the room having solved the thing we went in to solve. And even the way you used to be like, well, I'm not letting this overrun, and you'd set yourself a little alarm, pretending you had another appointment at the end. So I've got a hard finish. I've got a hard finish at 2, so we're going to have to get this done. But the thing is, it worked, right? It worked. We all knew that if we wanted our stuff across, we had to do it in the time that you'd given us. Otherwise, we're screwed, right? But the one thing that the companies that we were in as a whole weren't good at was, one, looking back, and two,
Yeah.
communicating anything and letting everybody know where they were, why
Yeah.
they were there,
And
what it
and
was for, what
with
to
me
do
being
next.
part of the football world, the
Mm.
non-league football community, are the worst communicators ever,
Or,
because
or, yeah, I found
they
that too.
don't see the
Yeah.
supporters. I don't say they don't see them as important, but there's times when they don't see them as as important enough to share what they're actually doing.
Yeah, they don't see them as their
No,
reason for being.
exactly.
Is their
Yeah,
reason the reason why they're still continuing and able to continue is those people come into the gates, because if they all stopped, your opinions would have zero value because the place would be shut.
exactly.
So without them, uh, you're right. Having worked for a few, done some websites for some, sampled some of the communications, it's so variable as well. You have people who are very engaged and want people to know what's going on, and you get those that
No,
just don't get it.
and
Don't get it, and it seems to be the further you go up,
it
the
worse
worse
it
that gets.
gets. And again, women in business, how I see it is that if we communicate with companies of the challenges that women can have in business, and we were talking earlier about the menopause, because it's a challenge. It's an absolute challenge for some women, not all women, but for some. And the more that we communicate about that, the more that the men can understand it, and give a little bit, if you like, because it will affect the working relationship. But all women go through the menopause, and so it's something that we should be looking at closer in all companies, not just in the bigger companies that think that they can afford to, sort of have somebody to share this. We need to have in every company that employs men and women, we have to communicate the issues, and I think that it's starting to happen. It's starting to happen more now, and this is what I've put on. I've put on a big now on my notes, because now is totally different. It's totally different to when I started work, and some of it for the better, some of it not. And but we still have a shortage of women in the high level positions in companies. We still have that. Um,
What's your? See, I've had some various thoughts on that. Right, that there are some women, perhaps you've seen what it takes to be a CEO. The kind of ego you have to have, the kind of commitment to time you have to have, and I think, well, is it not a case in I don't know how many cases, but the women look at that and go, "You're nuts. I'm not doing that. I'm not giving up. I'm not making 90 hours a week to get ahead of this other CEO and to get into this CEO position." Do you not think that maybe they're just more intelligent about it? I'm not doing that just for the sake of money. No, no. Do you not? So is there not more to it than just no opportunities? Do you not think it's a bit more of a nuanced deal than, oh well, they just simply can't. There's no route in. Yeah, I think
I
it's more. There clearly are women CEOs, and there are women who've started businesses from scratch and are now multinationals. So it's not that it's impossible. It's not that there are no opportunities. It's just that, well, do women actually want? If you got a group of women in a room and asked how many of them wanted to be a CEO, how many would put their hand
I
up?
think that you're right, Simon. I think that, but it's a combination of all of those things.
Like if you told them what it really involved to be a CEO, like how competitive and nasty it is,
And it
and
is.
how much dedication it is. It's probably not. I've spoken to a few, and there's a certain personality type that does well, a certain personality type that absolutely will never do well. There's a certain expectation on you, certain kinds of right. You've got to go up and you've got to travel to 5 countries across the next 7 days. All right, I'm up and about. All right, you've got to go and sit in that room and you've got to negotiate with these people and tell them, they're old bellends. But you've got to make them pay us all this money for this. Or you've got to go and negotiate this contract. Oh, and by the way, you won't be seeing your family for 2 weeks.
Exactly. And I
I mean,
think that
it's mostly blokes that would be like,
uh,
oh, that sounds right. How much am I getting? 500,000.
yeah,
Mint. Mint, I can
exactly,
buy another car with
exactly.
that.
But
Is that not
there
some of
is some
that?
of that, and I totally agree with you. But there's also women that would love that challenge, would love to be able to do that. I would. I'd take it, give it. I'd do that. I'd travel.
Are there actually people standing in the way of it? Compared, maybe there are still now, but compared to the way it was,
I think
are there people actually going, make sure it's not a woman?
I think again, it's a bit of both, and I think that I stand in my own way because I suppose I'm a little bit. Am I good enough? And that's how I've sort of felt. And we know we've all been there and done that one, haven't we?
We all have this. We all have the imposter syndrome, don't we? Most good people who are good at stuff and are sort of not egocentric about it. We all have this. Well, but it drives you to be better, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Like it has a negative. But if you're always sort of on the edge of, am I though? Am I good at this though? You're always going to move on. So I'll tell you what, I'll practice this a bit longer. Or I'll learn a bit of this. So in some ways it's bad, but I've tried to leverage it in some way and tolerate the negativity that comes out of it. And just go, yes, but look at all this stuff I've just done.
I do think also in some cases, and again, I don't mean all cases, that when a woman actually goes into a group to negotiate, they're not seen as serious about what they're doing as what men do.
Is that about the personality types that are in those sorts of rooms, though? That it's the type of men that they're having to deal with that they're going to look at it and go, well, we're a pack of lions.
Yeah.
There's a gazelle.
Totally, again.
And think they can tear it to bits.
That's the sort of thing, that's the mindset that needs to change, because that person is doing the job that they get paid to do, or for the business. They're doing the best.
Doesn't that come with the personality type you need to be there, though? That you have to be a bit of a psychopath to be.
I don't know, a psychopath. I'm not sure.
Well, you do. I think you have to lack some empathy, and to be very to not see more than a few yards ahead of you and say, look, I only care about my little circle here. I need this. I need this. I need more of this. 5 of these, and I need some of them. I'm going to go buy that. I'm going to take them out. You know, with that sort of personality, are you really going to get to the point where they're going to be very understanding?
I believe you have to be devious. You have to be devious in positions like that.
But women are very capable. I don't
No, and I agree
here,
with
women
you.
Are very,
I totally agree.
When it comes to men and women, I think women are possibly, on average, better at that than perhaps men, or better at wielding that as a tool. So why aren't they then using what they're good at to beat men at what they're good at? That those two things are maybe mutually exclusive things, but I think you can achieve the same results with 2 different sets of tools. One is ego and just charging in like a bull and making someone submit and just saying, I'm better than you and I'm going to prove it. And another one is, do you really want to do that?
Yeah.
And then just going in and pretending that you're a certain way, but in the back of your mind, this is all mind games. I mean, they might be strong, egocentric people, but I imagine they're some of the easiest people to fool.
High level business
because
really is mind games. You have to be able to, and I always say this to my business owners: play the game, because that's what this is all about. And you have to be ahead of the game all of the time.
It's a type of politics, isn't it?
Without a doubt.
A type of politics.
But what I'm saying is that women need to be accepted more in that position to be able to play the game and be, somebody used to say to me that when you get, again, put your power suit on, but make sure that your skirt is above your knee. Well, why? Why would I do that?
Because it's
It is distracting. I don't want them to be distracted from the business that I want to do. I want to get their signature on something. I want them to agree, not to ogle me and But saying that, going back to let me just because I've just remembered this, that when I was in the pub doing all that and I was the landlady and loving it. Do you know what happened to me one day? One of the customers actually slapped my backside, And
Ooh.
can you imagine what I did? No?
Is he
Well,
dead?
somebody
Yeah.
had to pick him up because I
Right.
punched him. Because, and
Nice.
he did go up, he didn't particularly go
Well, he
over,
asked
but,
for it.
uh, and I said to him, you ever do that to me again, and you will be nabbed, because,
Yeah.
you don't do that. I'm here running this pub. I'm a woman in business again. I'm respectful to you as a business owner, and he slapped my backside. Well, would you see that him doing that to my husband? No, he wouldn't, would he? No. So
No.
anyway, that was going off of topic a little bit, but I just remembered that because I think that's quite important. But but I do think that things have changed massively changed over the years, and I love being in business. I love what I do, especially working with small businesses, and it's something that because somebody said to me the other day, actually it was your mum, Simon. She said to me, "When are you thinking of retiring?" And I sort of went, "What's that? What's that
Oh,
word?
that.
Retiring?"
Yeah, she doesn't she doesn't get why you're starting something
No.
new. You know, like you've had this business on the go, and now
Yeah.
you're starting a bit of this and consult. I don't get it. I said, well, she likes to help
Yeah.
people. What's wrong with
I
that?
love it.
She's helped a lot of people. She's still helping a lot. In fact, she's got quite a bit on her book, so she's doing. I mean, she's doing some
Yeah.
good. Isn't that what matters? Well, I'm like, well,
I know.
is your answer to
But
every question? Well,
I enjoy it. That's my life. I
well,
love it. I don't.
isn't it?
I have a personal life as well. I enjoy going to the footy. We go out drinking and having meals and
Yeah, well, you could ask
socialise.
her. Well, are you not just going to sit in and watch the telly? You're not just going to sit and watch it to watch Strictly. No, no, no. We like to go out and use my dad's million vouchers on his 15 email addresses.
Absolutely.
We like to go out. We like to go out to the Toby, and then they go off to. They'll head off to the lakes, and then off to Kelso, and then they'll be off up to Scotland. Oh, we're in this place today. That's random. What are you doing down there? Well, we just used our free bus pass. I said, well, look, your equivalent is all your travels and all your day
Yeah.
trips, and you're wandering off to have afternoon tea at some random place that I didn't know existed. Oh, we've been. Where's that? Well, if you go on the A19, I don't even know where that is either. He knows all the
I,
roads, but they do all that. And for
it's
you,
not.
keeping your mind fresh is almost a compulsion
It
to help
is.
people, isn't it?
That's exactly where I am, and I picked up a new client this week, which is absolutely amazing. So I think I've still got it, and all the time I've still got it, I'm going to use it. Um,
I've seen what you're like when you're not doing it. Now I've seen how, you remember the person that shall not be named
yes,
that we both worked with,
I get
and
that.
how that
Yes.
went. And I could see it wasn't just about the plans and the change and this. It was like, I need to be out there, sat next to somebody, chatting with somebody, doing stuff with somebody, helping, and you weren't getting to do that the way you wanted to do it always often, and you could see it. It was almost like, yeah, I need to be out. I need to get out like you were in a cage of some kind. I need to be out. I need to be helping them. I need to be doing this. I can see this. Why aren't we doing this yet? Like you're compelled.
Exactly.
It's a
It is
part of
part
who you
of
are.
who I am, and I do believe that because a lot of people call me a strong woman. Probably am. I'm strong. I'm strong-willed. If I want to get something done, then that's what would happen. And I do believe
I'd say you're no
no nonsense,
nonsense. You're a no
no
nonsense
nonsense.
woman.
No, let's.
Yeah,
Let,
just no. Well, you know exactly
no.
what you're in for,
But I
right?
believe it's
You always make
because
that clear.
of my mum that I was like that because I didn't want to be like my mum.
Oh, in retaliation.
Totally. I love to be like my dad because my dad was the person that I had a lot of joy with. My mum wasn't. I didn't have joy with her because I didn't do girly things. I don't want to do girly things. I want to go and watch the football and
Yeah.
be with them.
Oh, well, you said you were a bit of a tomboy,
Yeah,
weren't you, back in the day? have to be out in the
Yeah,
clarts.
totally. We used to,
So, Anne, you get to go back and talk to your 16-year-old self. What do you say to him? What do you say to yourself? You know, in terms of what you've learned along the journey, what's the biggest piece of advice you would give to yourself?
We had this conversation on the phone. I told you what mine was, didn't I? On the phone
yeah,
last night.
I would tell myself to be a teacher. Go and do it. Don't let
Like
don't
it.
let anybody stand in your way. Go and do it.
Well, you've proved that when you've got an idea in your head, it
Yeah.
happens, right? You proved. So you probably could have found some way
Yeah.
or other.
And I believe that all the years that's been in the back of my mind, I want to be a teacher and teacher, and that's what I did. I sat my exams, and I am qualified teacher, which I haven't used with children, but I am using it with adults. So
Yeah.
it has helped me with actually helping and supporting business owners because I do training. So, teaching, training, it's sort of
Well, you've trained in
psychology. I
psychology
did,
and
oh God,
some other
yeah.
bits and pieces as well,
I
and
love psychology.
you've got a few badges to put on the website for the places you've signed, coaching organisations that you're affiliated with and whatnot. I've got a question related to what we've been talking about. That is the solution for women in the boardroom, or maybe it's one of the solutions to be taken seriously, is to be seen as a threat. Bearing in mind, these people are hunters, right? So these CEO people are effectively, hunter-killer type people, right? They're out to seal deals, to be better than someone else. Hate it when they're not better than someone else. It's a bit like that Psycho movie, with Christian Bale back in the day, where he was jealous because somebody had a better business card than him because it was a smoother texture. It's just little details like that. But so is part of the solution to try and have yourself perceived as a threat, that you mean business, that I've done a load of stuff coming for you.
I don't know about being a threat. I think that we need to.
Or maybe it's not a
No.
direct threat, but somebody that is
Yes,
capable
God,
of being a
but
threat.
definitely that this woman is capable.
Like not a one-on-one. That Jesus, don't mess with her mind.
Exactly. And I think that it's a shame that it has to be like that, because that's what I was saying about being devious and doing all of the things that, wearing a shorter skirt.
But do you think we'll have to do a bit of that first before it sort of redresses itself, where eventually all people in the room are seen as equal in some way or of equal measure?
I don't think
That at first
I
you
don't
might,
think that you need.
because I feel there's a danger of overcompensating, and I see a lot of that in the news and in society at the minute, that we tend to overcompensate, and then people start rebelling and pushing back and saying, "Oh no, you've gone too far
Yeah,
there,"
I
and finding the right
I think
measures.
that you're right, Simon, and that's what's happened. That's what's happening at the moment, is that we've gone too far in some areas. But that's for another day. I think that that's a completely different subject in our world. Our world.
Well, that was a lot of the
It,
2.5 hours,
it
wasn't
was.
it? Last night, they're realising that's actually, it's
Yeah.
huge. That it's great. Look at all the progress we've made, and I was really enlightened by what you said. That, well, look, this is where I was, and you've managed to see it actually transform across those years, because it's happened in those years that you've been in business, from not being able to get into business necessarily, and certainly not in the way you are now, and actually having all this freedom to. And it's not weird for a woman to be doing this or to be doing that, or for a man even to not be doing
I
it
do
and to be staying at
believe
home.
that there are some things that men are much better at, and I believe that there's some things that women are better at. The thing is that we have to do is join them together, and what a force that we would be if we joined all of our strengths and our skills together in the boardroom. How good would that be? That
See us as two
yeah,
halves.
it's
Two halves. You can do that. I
yeah,
can do this.
exactly, and that really is how a board should run anyway, because there will be different skill sets sat round the table, and that is how a board should be run. And that's where I was saying about me with business planning. I can do business plan. I'll do that in my sleep. I'll stand on my head and do it. Business planning for me is something that I do, and I believe I do it well. On a board of directors, that's a huge skill to have when we're talking about strategy and how we're talking about planning for the future. So why wouldn't you want this woman sat on the board to do that? I'd be happy. I'd be happy to do it. Yeah. So I think that if we take what men are good at, what women are good at, just join them together and in harmony. It won't always be on the board,
I've met many women who are great
Yeah.
coordinators
exactly.
of things, like making things work
Yes.
in unison,
And
making sure the right person's doing the right work stream and bringing them all
there
together
shouldn't
into
be any difference
collective at
in
the end.
level, if you see what I mean. That the man shouldn't be the person who's in charge, and the woman then who is the great coordinator is sort of that person that is their assistant. They could be on the same level, because joining it together like that, it makes sense. But it doesn't work like that, because you have to have some kind of structure in businesses. But hell,
Yeah, there's always a hierarchy
there
of kinds,
is.
isn't there?
I tend to say let's take out the massive hierarchy in businesses, because it doesn't work these days, because you don't want too many chiefs. You need Indians to be able to run the company. So yeah, that's. But I do believe that there are men who can do things much better than me. But I can do a lot of things better than men as well. So yeah.
So a co-op would be better than your conventional
Yes,
board as such. So
absolutely.
like a panel of people rather than a chief with
Yeah.
subordinates. It would be
You
better if
do
it was.
have to have somebody who is, I suppose, the person that pulls all that together.
Yeah, the person you're going to fire if
Exactly.
something goes wrong. That guy.
Yeah, love
Yeah.
it.
Well, somebody has to be ultimately accountable for
Totally.
it, don't they?
It's interesting that, because when you talk about the sort of dynamics of decision making in the boardroom, I did an exercise last week with an organisation, and one of the exercises we did was wearing the 6 hats, which it doesn't necessarily have to be man or woman, but you actually force the issue about going through the logic, optimism, negativity, feeling, creativity, and the management. You force it through a process rather than necessarily talking about gender.
Magic. That is magic.
So you treat it as a process rather
Yeah,
than.
yeah. So you got an idea, you've got an item on the agenda, and you take it through the 6 hat principle, which sort of takes away that, as Anne mentions, that sort of org structure, you know.
Because you're dealing with it in terms of concepts
Yeah,
rather than abilities and skills and.
That's brilliant. I
yeah.
like that, Mark.
I've never heard that.
That is absolutely that, and that's what I was just been
It,
talking about. Is yeah.
I'll nick that.
Yeah, it actually, I think it's a derision of Disney's process of building movies. So he had a concept, right? I want to make a movie about a big elephant that can fly. Right, now tell me why it
Yeah.
can't work. And you go through that process like
No,
that.
I get that. That's brilliant. I really like it. And yeah, Simon, I'll nick that.
Yeah,
It's,
nicking that.
we call it copy with honor.
Copy with honour.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing it in honour of the
I'll
person
mention your
that came
name.
up with it. It's just to honour you, Mark. Yeah.
Oh gosh.
I actually got them to make I got them to do a fun example and a work related. The fun example was I wanted them to create a pizza that was both sweet and savoury. And they had to go
Ooh.
through the process with the hats on. And then the second one was they were thinking about introducing a company car scheme with an electric car, and we had to go through the process wearing the hats for a company car.
Wow.
And it worked really well. The fact that they had to be both negative, optimistic, creative, and put some feeling into it.
That's brilliant. I really like that.
Ah, right.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, we're available.
Yes.
Reasonable rates.
Okay then.
Yeah. Fish and chips
There's no,
with vinegar.
there's no mate, there's no mates
Aw.
rates though.
No,
We had
no.
that discussion. We had that discussion. We've had that discussion about mates rates. Well, why would you want your mate? Why would you want to pay your mate less, so he has to suffer for helping you out? I thought that's a way of putting it, isn't it? Oh well, I'm not going to do work for you because I have to do it cheaper.
Exactly. But why would you do that?
Unless you're going to return the favour. A favour for a favour's different. Mates rates, it's a mad concept, isn't it?
Totally.
When you think of it that way.
And again,
Oh yeah, I'm going to
in
pay you less because you're
business,
my mate.
why would we? It's our business. Whether it's your friend, you're giving them your service or your product
Yeah.
or whatever it is that you're
Yeah.
in business with, and that the price is the price. Be proud of it. Be proud. This is
Yeah.
what I'm worth.
Yeah, and your mate should be wanting you to succeed. Yeah, I'll pay for that. It's worth it. At least you know if it's a mate, they're not going to rip
Totally.
you off.
I get that.
So you're at least going to get your money. You know you're going to get your
Yeah.
money's worth. That should be the guarantee in terms of mates rates. Is the return on your money. You know you don't have to worry about it. You're going to get the thing that you
Yeah.
asked for.
And
Or if you may, you might get another 9 hours.
I was
That I
just going
didn't
to say
charge
that,
for.
Simon. I always get value for money from you.
Yeah, you do.
Totally.
You do. The daft thing is, you quite often get value for money in the hours that I charge for, and then I go, could I have? Yeah, but
We talked about that yesterday
that's that
as
imposter
well.
syndrome right there.
Yeah,
we
but
did. We did. It's gonna have to
Oh,
stop. Stop it.
I was happy. I was happy with what
Aye.
you'd given me, so we don't have to go,
I
but
know.
anymore. I was,
Yeah, I know. I did some logos. Did some new logos for a business, and I was like, aye, but I had forgotten all about it. And in fact, he'd actually used them, and there's me going, I don't know, but do you know maybe it's if it this colour? Shut up. Aye.
Perfection doesn't exist.
No, do you know? Don't let perfection be the enemy of good.
correct.
Correct.
I learnt that. I learnt that from a podcast.
Yeah.
It was really good. I thought, ooh, there's a good one. Don't try and perfect it so much that you knacker it. Right? That's the Geordie way of putting it.
Knacker it.
Aye. Knacker it. Divin
That
knacker
would,
it.
that would be a good bag. I'm knackered.
Are you knackered,
Aye.
Mark?
I'm in the knacker's yard, as my granddad would say.
Knackers. Aye.
Oh, heck. Is it Poets' Day for you?
No, my wife says I'm currently a twat.
Nice one. Is that because
Was that Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays?
That's right. That's all I work. Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. I'm a twat.
I love it.
So it's an excuse to call you one.
Yeah.
Could be
Could
worse.
be worse.
Could be worse. It could begin with a C.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm pushing the board out. I'm actually working one day this week. It's tomorrow.
Oh, dear. Love it. Love it. Good eye.
Good. Oh. What's next?
That was immense.
Well, thank you
Yeah,
very
well
much
done.
for having
That was
me on.
immense.
And
Loved it. We're going to have you on again because I feel like there's still a couple of bits we need to
that's
go
what
over.
I said. That this subject is massive.
Yeah, we'll have to give you
totally.
another slot. I think the next bit on where we're at, and then the fights and the pushbacks. With that groundwork we've done today, that next bit, I don't see that bit talked about much on talk shows, on chat shows, or whatever it is. That none of them seem to be talking about. Oh well, this person's pushing at this, and oh well, this person's pushing back. They just seem to be. Oh well, this person on Twitter said this, and they said, oh well, and this person. Oh well, yeah, but there's a whole thing going on that there are people who are feeling like they need to keep fighting without looking back at what they've won.
Yeah.
Oh, but if you stop though, it'll go backwards. Or if you stop though, we won't get this. Chill for a minute. Can we just have a look around? And this is something me and Mark have spoke about loads. Is stop for a minute and have a look back at what you've done.
Stop and get off.
And try and appreciate how far you've come.
Just get off for a little while. And
there are so many people who, if they look back, wouldn't realise how many miles they've covered and might shock themselves. Some people are afraid to, in case it makes them stop. No, if I look back there, I won't keep going. I won't keep going. Got to keep going. Or they're chasing something. We need to stop for a minute and have a look and appreciate it.
I think
I say that.
I think also
I'm an absolute hypocrite.
what I'd like to talk
it.
about next time is about my cancer journey,
Mm-hmm.
because I think that that's quite important. You know, we talk about menopause, and and I think that it's worth talking about what happened to me, because not a lot of people want to talk about it, and I do. I'm very proud of where I was and where I am now. So I think that would be a great topic.
So, yes, Facebook post, like, subscribe, do all the clicky follow things, leave some reviews, leave some comments as well, and then we'll see you next week. Take care.